Hello, Quesnel, and welcome to QToday. I'm Allison Duddy.
And I'm Mitch Vick, and this is our show for November the 30th.
Coming up on today's show, our top story from The Observer. It's Christmas time, if you didn't know that already, and the city unveils its new affordable housing strategy.
And coming up later in the show, we have another feature interview with George Young.
Okay, so here at QToday, we bring you the recent news provided by our good partnership with the Quesnel Cariboo Observer, combined with a bit of our own commentary. But of course, we do want to hear from you. Our field crews are out there, and if you have something to say, we want to know about it.
And what you think is important, we think is important. We stress that all the time here. We really want to hear about your stories, about things that you think is important. So email us some ideas at qtoday@qcatv.ca.
All right, thanks, Mitch. Moving on to the news. Remember, we just give the highlights. If you want to get all the details, pick up your copy of the Quesnel Cariboo Observer. And now over to Mitch for the news.
You can tell that Christmas is around the corner, Allison.
It sure is, Mitch. We have lots of Christmas-related news today. Starting out, first of all, we have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is once again opening their beautiful nativity scene display to the public December 5th to the 7th from 2 to 8:30 p.m. Now, this free event features indoor creche displays in a wide variety of media. So if you get a chance, check that out December 5th to 7th from 2 to 8:30 p.m.
Will do. And Ruth Schooler has a wonderful column in the paper about the season, and she goes on to talk about how the October snowstorm was a big wake-up call for all of us, although we have since seen very little snow. But she goes on to tell us about the snowfall, giving us a wake-up call, get our snow tires on, get our gardens ready for the fall or ready for winter. So that was it was good of her to point all that great information out. She also goes on to tell us that there's a lot of bazaars and craft fairs going on. Specifically, the Indoor Farmers Market is scheduled at the Quesnel and District Rec Center December 1st and 8th. And again, it's a gentle reminder to think of your neighbor who may have transportation issues, seniors and others. So offer to give a ride, get out to some of these fantastic events in our community. And another event she recapped for us was the open house at Century 21 for the Seniors Advocacy Service. And she was very thankful for that group for putting on that event. And you're also invited to attend Century 21's office at 353 Reed Street for some hot cocoa and cookies on November 30th from 7 to 9. And while you're there, why not enjoy the Moonlight Madness that's going on in downtown Quesnel on November 30th. And a special thank you to everyone who generously supported the musical evening at the North Star Baptist Church on November 24th. And the public gave generously to the SAS and Good Cheer in record donations. So she had a lot to say, really good article. Good recap.
She always does. She's a nice lady. I've met Ruth before.
Absolutely.
All right, well, the Salvation Army Kettle Campaign is gearing up for another holiday season. Now, there's quite a history, which I didn't realize, behind the kettles, since the first kettle was set up in 1891 in San Francisco, and the first in Canada in 1906 in St. John's, Newfoundland. Now, kettle workers have relied on the public's generosity, and the familiar kettles are now seen in more than 2,000 locations across Canada. This year in Quesnel, there will be 5 permanent kettle locations set up Monday to Friday, December 1st to the 24th, as well as a roving kettle, which will be out at various locations across the city. Now, previously, the kettle campaign has raised in excess of $30,000 in Quesnel, and that is this year's goal as well. With the help of generous donors, the Salvation Army in Quesnel hopes to raise an additional $40,000 through its mail-out campaign. Now, this money continues to allow the Salvation Army to operate various programs which continue to support those most in need in the community. This past year, 16,000, that's an awful lot, of hot meals were served, and 1,440 food bank hampers were distributed, as well as many other services and programs which aim to promote dignity and well-being for those in the community. The Salvation Army would like to thank the community for all it's done in the past and continues to do today to support them. Here we've got Salvation Army Lieutenant Stephen Van Scheck and Lieutenant Laura Van Scheck appreciating Mayor Mary Schustrom's donation. So Mitch, speaking of Christmas, when you're out there, I know you have a business in town and stuff, and you've got customers coming in. What's your preference? Are you a Merry Christmas kind of guy or Happy Holidays? What's your feeling
Truthfully, I'm a Happy Holidays kind of guy.
Are you?
We
How
have a
come?
very diverse group of clientele, and I think the Happy Holidays encompasses more in the spirit.
A wider range.
A wider diversity of our clientele, and I think it's a little bit more appropriate for my situation anyways. So.
Yeah, and everybody has their preference, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a Happy Holidays kind of person too.
Yeah.
I think Merry Christmas sort of implies, Christmas as just being the one day, and I like to, include the whole holiday season.
I think so. And I think over time that's what it's evolved to. It's a holiday season to respect all religions and all ethnicities. So I think Happy Holidays is probably a little bit more encompassing.
Very good.
Yeah. But Christmas is more than one a day a year, and a community's ability to house itself all year long is a precious gift. Last Monday, the city unveiled its affordable housing strategy. Allison, it's a big strategy. I'm going to try my best to keep it concise. So let's begin with saying that the city has worked with Wilco van Bemmel of Doomfield Consulting from the Netherlands, where they are experts in affordable housing, and they help put together a strategy plan as well as to prioritize Quesnel's affordable housing needs. And we'll say they've come up with three main priorities. The first priority is to improve the quality of emergency and transitional housing options for people in immediate need. So in our community, that encompasses places like Seasons House and the Amata House. Seasons House is, as part of this strategy, Seasons House wants to add more emergency beds into their facility. Specifically, which I think is a great idea, they want to add youth emergency beds, which there are none of. Youth tend to couch surf if they're homeless, going from one house to another to another. We need some better solution for youth in need. Amata House is 80 years old, and as part of the strategy to improve the quality of emergency care, Amata House is going to be looking for some upgrades, including improving their children's area. The second priority is to provide more supportive housing options for those who cannot live independently yet. And an example of that, the city is looking to help people develop their houses to offer rooms to seniors. This is one idea, and it's already happening in the city. There are those who are providing support in their homes for seniors. So they're renting out a room in their home where people can live and have help with their laundry and meals and things like that. So that's one idea that the city hopes to pursue and expand on. The third priority is to provide more low-cost and attractive market housing options for independent seniors and single-income households. So one example of this idea moving forward are you have clubs like the Lions Club who are actively trying to develop a seniors housing project on property which they've recently purchased. So they're going to build some seniors housing units, hopefully more than 25 units. So the city is going to try and encourage that kind of development among private clubs, private individuals, so that there are more market attractive options. So these are the three main priorities for our affordable housing strategy. And city planner Tanya Turner was on hand at the session to speak to the strategy, and she said that she's very proud of what's going on. Housing is a basic need, she added. We're developing a community with all the parts and pieces. She also explained affordable housing means more than cheap homes. It means providing housing options for all kind of demographics. It means more about having safe, affordable, and attainable housing for different needs. This is just a draft, and any suggestions from the public are welcomed. And I should note that at that meeting there was some strong feelings on things like housing density in neighborhoods in our city. Some people are not for increasing the density of their neighborhoods. And there was also a lot of strong feelings on issues of vacancy if you analyze the statistics for the vacancy rates, there are this core of vacant properties which are difficult to rent because they're deemed to be in unsafe neighborhoods or an unsafe condition. And the city, with cooperation from other agencies, should really find a way to bring these neighborhoods or these homes up to a standard where people feel they can rent these homes, which would help to reduce the strain on our vacancy rate. So, really good session. I had an opportunity to be there, and I think the city's on the right track here for sure.
It sounds really interesting, Mitch. Thanks for that.
Sorry, I spoke for like a half an hour there, but a lot to say
good.
there.
Yeah, it was definitely a big thing. All right, so after more than 3 weeks at large, Shadow Laflamme has turned himself in at approximately 9:15 a.m. on November 26th. Laflamme turned himself in at the Quesnel RCMP detachment. Laflamme was wanted for possession of a controlled substance for the purpose of trafficking, assaulting a police officer, being unlawfully in a dwelling house, possession of stolen property, and trespassing at night. The 22-year-old fled from police on November 2nd after resisting arrest and jumping out a third-story balcony in the 1200 block of Lark Avenue on an unrelated matter. Now, upon arrival, police located and arrested Laflamme for possession of a controlled substance. The arresting officer attempted to apprehend the suspect, but he resisted arrest, and a struggle ensued, which ended when Laflamme fled the apartment out of a third-story balcony, striking his arm and leg on the second-floor balcony before landing on the ground. He then fled the scene on foot and has been at large ever since, until he turned himself in. Now, Laflamme remains in police custody until his next court appearance, which is next Tuesday morning. So we'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
So, there was an interesting editorial in the paper, Allison. And
Yes.
It's about Doomsday. And it's coming up.
Supposedly.
December 21st. Are you ready for that?
I don't really buy into that, Mitch. You know, there's been a few times in my lifetime where they say, oh, the world is ending, and for a couple of reasons. For one thing, because even if it really was, you know, I'm not going to sit around and worry about it. You know, you're going to enjoy the time that you have left, right?
Fair enough.
And for another thing, I don't know. What's your take on it? I'm curious. When you read that, what did you think?
It's not just the Mayans who say that we're in trouble on December 21st. There's a lot of groups out there, a lot of religions, and a lot of groups that say, you know what, we're coming to the end of our rope here. Should we not prepare?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be one major catastrophic event that the world is going to just end and be over like that. I think what's going to happen, unfortunately, is that our greed and our lack of conservation in the world amongst mankind, we're going to kill our planet slowly. That's my feeling on the situation.
What a warm and fuzzy thought
I know,
that
isn't that
is.
just great?
That's so
we go
nice.
from talking about these great happy Christmas stories and we get into Doomsday with you.
All right.
So, anyways, let's move along
Well,
to
I'm not
sports,
going to be doom and gloom, and
yeah.
I'm not going to be the slow death either.
Okay.
So we're going to move forward today.
So you're just going to sit on the fence? Is that what you're...
No, we're going to start being positive and making proactive decisions that are great for our community and helpful to our society so that maybe we're not using up so many resources. And
Good point.
so we got to promote
Yes.
that on this show today because
You know, the fact
I'm
is,
not for
Mitch,
Doomsday
all
either.
we have that we really know for sure is today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I agree
why
with that.
worry about tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of this Doomsday talk.
right.
It's, a little downer. So anyways, on to sports. The Cariboo senior girls volleyball team fought for the continuation of their season mid-month in Prince George. The girls faced PGSS and North Peace Senior Secondary in their zones, beating both in round robin before a heartbreaking loss in the second round. The Cariboo girls were facing off against the 4A zone teams in an effort to make provincials and continue their season. Now, their first challenge was a strong PGSS team. The Cariboo girls took the 3-game set in the first two, beating PGSS 25-19 and then 25-18. The girls then went on to play North Peace, and they took the match in 3, 25-20, 25-18, and 15-8. The wins earned them a bye into the finals as North Peace took on and beat PGSS for a place in the finals against Cariboo. The North Peace girls came out hard against Cariboo, gaining momentum in their first win, 25-22, and they continued to win and took the second game 25-20 and the third 25-22 to take the match in 3 games. So a little disappointing for the Cariboo senior girls volleyball team, but still a good season overall.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Okay. And there's next year too.
That's right.
Always improving, right? Into Super League curling this last week. Curlers were busy, super busy again, slipping about the ice in an effort to put stones close to dots. And let's face it, that's what we're doing when we're throwing rocks down the ice. Right, Allison?
You bet.
All right, so particularly proficient at the dot finding exercise was Douglas Lake Equipment, who managed to shut the front door on A&W 5-1. Holy cow. Well done. Billy Barker and Investors Group played a much closer finish, with Billy Barker taking the match 7-5. Close win there. Jar and Karen's Deli laid everything out, and they had down on sheet D. In a tightly fought game, Jar stole one in the 8th to get the win over Karen's Deli. Super close. Over on sheet E, it was an even closer game between Franks and Cariboo Pulp. It took 2 extra ends, but it was the Franks beaters smiling long and proud with an 8-7 victory. So excellent. CDC found a much easier game in a 6-3 win over Willis Harper. Gotta get it together there, Willis Harper. Willis Harper came riding in on their magic carpet, but the kids swept them under the rug, maintaining sole possession of first place.
All right.
So,
Awesome.
some really entertaining rock throwing going on there.
Definitely.
That's
Thanks,
great.
Mitch. All right, so from the field, over the past several years, the city has been working with the Latako Dean First Nation on a plan that would see the city provide potable water to the reserve lands. After receiving a formal request from the nation's new council at an October 15th council meeting, council has approved, in principle, providing potable water to banned lands. The parties involved must commit to a number of principles before the project is approved, however. Now, council also recognized the importance of continuing to build a productive and respectful partnership with the Latako Dean Nation.
Next up, we have our interview with George One, and we're going to call this part 1 of our interview with George Young. When we last left, he was a toddler who was just leaving the Cariboo to live in New West. Nate and George take up the story in the Royal City. Let's enjoy George's trip back home.
Hi, George. How are you?
Hi, Nate.
Welcome back for the 4th time in our series.
Right?
And we're going to talk today about you going to New Westminster, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
We're going to do the old McKenzie Roadhouse first. McGinnis Roadhouse first, and then we're going to head down to New Westminster.
Okay.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, we want to talk about, we're going to have a little lunch after the show, right?
Right.
We're going to eat a little bit of this.
Pemmican. Right?
Pemmican. Okay,
Yeah.
This is pemmican. And people have heard of pemmican, like when George says, I've got some pemmican. I said, food, social studies 8. But I don't really know anything about pemmican. Okay?
Okay.
So this is real pemmican.
Real
It's
pemmican,
not,
yes.
It's not a,
Yep.
and this also is real pemmican.
Right.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how you got it, what you do with it, and why it's nutritious. And
Okay, well, this pemmican, I borrowed it from Tom Ackles, and what it is it's meat, and it's dried over fire, and then they take berries and dry them all, and then they put a little marrow, the grease from the marrow, and they make a mush out of it, and then they put it in a bunch of clay, and they light a fire, and they dry it out, and then they put another cover over that of clay, and then they bury it, and then they could dig it up later. Well, actually, they put ashes over top of it, so there's no smell of animals or any meat or anything.
Oh, yeah.
And then after a year or two later, or wherever they come back, they can take this stuff up, and you knock the outside layer off, and you have this part here, and you break a piece off and boil it in water, and it makes a stew. And that's how they used to preserve food way back in a long time before the fridges or any of that kind of stuff. And but to mash it up there and that, we have this rock here, and it has a hole cut in it there, and they put a stick through there, and that's how they mashed it to make this porridge type thing. And inside this one here that we have on the table here, This one here is probably from the Chinese people, and what they did is they would take like mushrooms, like dried mushrooms like this, and they'd make a powder out of it, and then they'd put it into a hole on the end here, and that's how they preserved it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And anyway, I broke one open there, and you can see the dried mushrooms inside one there. So, but some have blueberries or Saskatoon berries or whatever berries in them. Like, I don't know just how they tell them one from the other.
Mm-hmm. So, where did you said a friend named Tom Mackles gave it to you.
Right.
Where are they originally from, these particular?
Well, this particular one, they used to sell, or at the fort and stuff like that, they used to sell pemmican at the Fort Alexander that we visited last time on our show and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so these, you'd say these could be 200 years old?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
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 Wow, amazing.
Yes.
And you're the custodian of them.
Right.
You're not going to eat them.
Well, we took one of them and boiled it and put it in water, or made a stew out of it, and put it down on the thing there, and the dog ate it. So it is eatable, and they never got sick or nothing. So, I mean, it's definitely eatable, eh? Yeah.
Okay, good
Yeah.
for that. So thanks for bringing this in. I think another time you've got an arrowhead you're going to show us in the future show.
Right. Yeah.
And a special arrowhead, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so but for now, thank you very much for this part of it. Now let's take a look at the at your album and your story.
This picture was taken back in 1929, and it just shows the McGinnis Roadhouse. If you were coming from the Williams Lake area going up towards Grinnell, this is the side that you would look at. And just before we go into the story a little bit, up above the behind the McGinnis Roadhouse there used to be a bunch of Cariboos that used to come up there in the fall and stuff like that. And this here is a picture of the Cariboos.
Wow, there's a
Yeah, they
lot of
like
them.
that was where they used to come all the time back.
Wow.
You know,
And
once a year.
Cariboo, they're not around this
Oh, yeah.
area anymore.
Yeah, they are, but
Oh,
they're
yeah.
they're behind, like up towards Ghost Lake, and that's
Oh, they're up there.
Yeah, that's behind the
Oh.
McGinnis House, up there probably 100 miles or 50 miles or something like that.
There are more moose here, and they kind of came in, and the caribou moved a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mostly deer and moose and deer nowadays.
But we still have the caribou. Good.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so you left Quinnell. Your family left Quinnell.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
this is 1945.
Right.
We moved away. Like I said, I was only 2 years old and stuff.
And why did you leave?
Eh?
Why did you guys?
Well,
leave?
because Mary McGinnis there, she wanted to get paid from the property and stuff like that, and so the only way we could pay it off and get a grub stake to run the ranch and stuff, we had to go down to the coast, and my older brothers had to go to school and high school and all that kind of stuff. My sister and that.
So the intention was always to come back.
Right, and then of course I had rheumatic fever too, so I had to have treatment
really?
down there. Yeah, so I
Okay.
had.
So you
yeah.
left there. Okay, let's take a look at New Westminster.
Okay, just get inside here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna miss this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, in New Westminster, this is my grandma and grandpa's place, and it's on 9th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the lawnmower. Well, everybody's seen one of them, but that was the kind you did the lawns back then, eh?
Yeah. My wife says I should still use one.
Okay, so if you're in New Westminster and you went down just about before 16th Street, this house still exists on the internet.
Right?
And
You
that's
found
all-
it on the internet? Yeah.
Yes, but it's painted different color.
Yeah.
And anyway, the picture below that is me on a horse, and this horse came around to all the neighbors and stuff like that, and everybody got their picture taken on it there. And
Yeah.
when they see that picture, they said, "Oh, I sat on that same horse," so that was
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, right. I remember. I might have been on that horse too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And then
Yeah.
my dad, we moved down to 16th Street, and this is where we lived. And just
Nice.
the
I love
pictures
the
of the house and stuff.
cars.
And then remember the old milkman used to come around there and they dropped the
Yep.
milk off there in the milk bottles.
Milkman, milk bottle. We had the insurance guy come for 50 cents a week or something like that. It
Yes.
was amazing, all the people that would do that.
Right. Then, now, right when you look down our street, it's a dead end there, and right at the bottom there, this picture at the top, you can see that building there in the background, and that's Scott's Paper Mill.
Right?
And then the streetcar came right below there. That's where it joins onto Marine Drive there. And this used to go down to the Army and Navy store and that.
Oh, right, yeah.
And as you were sitting in there, you looked up on the ceiling, and of course, here was
Yeah.
the Cadbury chocolate bars.
That's
and,
right, best ever.
best ever chocolate bars.
And,
Yes.
1946
Confederation.
calendar. Yeah.
Yes. And then we go back here again, and I went to the Lansdowne School in grade 1 and stuff like that. And back then, for our entertainment, we used to play marbles.
I used to lose a lot of marbles.
Yes.
And cat's eyes, the special
Okay,
ones.
now we're
You want to lose those?
going into my now this is 1952, and we're getting ready to move back to the Cariboo again. And this is a Patch family picture album. And my brother Bob and Jack, which Bob is the oldest, Jack is the next one, then my sister, and then me.
And there you are.
And I am 7 years old with my mom and dad there. And anyway, we bought this old international truck from, it was called Decker's Auto Parts there. And we bought this truck for $150, and it came with about 8 spare tires and about 20 tubes. And like there was a big pile, and my brother went through them, and they told him to pick out the best he could. And some even held air, he said.
Yeah, I had an international.
Oh, yeah. You're
Up in
saying,
Rivers Inlet.
Right.
I had to get it in by a freight boat.
And then this is the only picture that I have left, and this was taken in 1852, and this is the International loaded up on Nanaimo Street of all our worldly possessions. And the inside there was a little 8N Ford tractor.
So you're heading back to the Cariboo.
Now we're getting ready to,
Amazing.
yes. And so anyway, this is looking out through the windshield at this.
I love this. I love this one.
Yeah, and this is my brother Jack there, and he's just checking over the wiring and all that kind of stuff. And he was just a teenager at that time. And of course, I'm down here, and I'm 7 years old, and I'm looking through this truck, and I see this gear shift here, and I didn't know what the thing was. But when he started to go down the road, he'd move it there, and it would growl at him, and he would swear at this thing, and then we started to move down the road. So anyway, as we're leaving there, my dad had a car, but he bought this Oldsmobile, and he was behind us. We come up to the corner here.
Oh, wow.
And this here, you can see an arm right here, and there's a wire goes out, and it goes outside. And when you pull this thing, it lifted up. It's called a metaphor. And this arm came up, and it had reflectors on it, and that meant that you were going to turn to the left or the right. But, you know, instead of our hand signals, this is...
Yeah, amazing, because I just remember the hand signals and then the regular turn signals as we have now. But there was this intermediate step, and that's where these are.
Yeah, the metaphor.
Yeah,
and anyway, the thing about that is you didn't have to open the window to freeze your arm now. You got this other thing that did the same thing, eh?
Yeah.
So anyway, there's the Greyhound bus, and some of our relations who are staying in the motel. And we're coming into New Westminster, and of course, when I'm sitting in this truck, I'm looking out the window, and I can look right into this big bus here, a trolley bus, which I never could before. Cars are down about just below the windows, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
And so anyway, inside the old bus and stuff like that, up on the ceiling again, look at this, the Cadbury's.
You really like the Cadbury.
Yes. 5 cents for a Cadbury chocolate bar back then, eh?
And this is interesting. I mean, first of all, before we get into this, there's a old wood stave water line, eh?
Yes. Yeah, they were made the water lines going into New Westminster or whatever was made of wood, and then had a wire wrapped around it there. And those things lasted for a lot of years, eh?
You know, we still had them in Quesnel until just a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah, but they trying to get rid of them.
Anyway,
Unbelievable.
We're driving down the road, and there was a big bang, and my brother said, check that tire, and how does it look? And I said, I think we have to change it there. And so this here is called a vulcanizing thing. And what you do is you took the tire and the wheel, or you took the tire and they took the tube out of it, and you put the tire or the tube underneath here, and you put this.
All right, now it's time to see what's happening locally with our community calendar.
And before we close, just a last reminder there, the Lions shopping spree's coming up. Grab your tickets. They're available Save On Foods and Canadian Tire and K-Max.
All right, that's it for this show. We want to hear from you with your story or your comments on the show. And remember,
QToday is about
Quesnel talking to Quesnel. Have a great day.